first step.
Okay.
And they were
Yay.
fine. I was like, there's one. I did the
Okay.
sign. That's I don't fit. Okay. What I end up
No, it'll just be them.
everything that is on laid out. And then that's great.
Okay, got it.
There we go.
Yes.
All right, we got it. Thank you. I'll call you. Yeah.
I don't know. Is it recording now, Elena?
Yes. Oh, it's recording in progress. Oh, okay. We're not that. Is that time to start?
It's 12:59. We may as well welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's good to have everybody here. I'm Carrie Armstrong, if you don't know me, and
Sue Ann Stevens.
I work with the Property Pros team at Murray, and she works with
the Stevens Property Group, Murray.
we're here to talk to you about buyer consultations. I wrote a few things down. She wrote a few things down. The importance of why we do these is really take time and just listen to what they need, what they want, get to know them, just start forming a relationship. They say, real estate is to form relationships. Maybe if they bought before, what has their past experience been? What did they like about their other realtor? Maybe what they didn't like. Just a time to get to know, sit down and get to know, not go out and show houses. Kind of let me get to know you, you get to know me, share a little bit about your personal, and just get to know people. Also, let them know the benefit of using you and sticking with you. We set up showings, we take care of all the paperwork. We're familiar with the market. We probably already saw that house that they want to go see. We know we get a heads up on houses that are coming on the market, right? We sit at our Tuesday meetings and I hear she's putting Chantilly on Thursday, right? I can give my buyers a head up. So give your buyers a reason to work with you. It's another reason to sit down a buyer's consultation. A lot of times we don't do that if we're not sitting down doing a buyer's consultation with them. It's a time for us to get information from them. What are their wants? What's their needs? What's their motivation? I know Stevens Property Group is always asking, why do you want to buy a home? Is it just on a whim or you've got to move? I mean, that makes a difference. If they have to move for a job, they're probably going to be one of your A buyers versus your D buyers, right? Also, it's a time for us to give information, which we're going to show you here. She has a buy guide. I have a buy guide. It's time to pass information along to them right there at the buyer's consultation. And that way you're not scrambling when you're ready to write an offer of what they need to have in front of them. And then it's a time to get some important documents signed right there at the buyer's consultation, or at least introduce the important documents and let them know that they can sign those documents electronically. What to include?
So what we're kind of going to do today is we're going to both role play. Carrie's going to role play with me as the agent, doing the typical way she does a buyer consultation, and I'm going to do the same. And what I gave you guys is kind of a guideline of what we're going to be talking about and the importance of it. But one of the things that I want to hit on that Carrie is saying too, why even bother doing a buyer consultation? The important thing to know is that the retention rate and the conversion rate of someone that just called on a house to becoming a successful closing is substantially higher when you've actually had a buyer consultation with them, because there's a lot of things that you can address up front. So shall I go through my thing and then you do the role play?
Sure.
Okay, so a couple of other things I wanted to add is when you have that buyer consultation, you're able to identify their motivation, figure out what their needs are, what their wants are. They meet with you and you establish the value, like Carrie said, of why work with an agent. A lot of people come to us and they go, well, I can just go to any listing agent. And we're going to find this challenge when NAR, depending on what happens with that lawsuit, I guess it started on Wednesday. So we want to establish a value. So in doing that, it forms that strong alliance, like Carrie said, between the client and the buyer. They see you in a professional format. They see you as someone that is looking out for their best interest. You're able to identify with them and then find out not only if you're a fit for them, but if they're a fit for you. And you don't want to waste your time with people that do not have a motivation to buy. A lot of people come in. One thing that we were talking about when we were driving out here that I deal with a lot, I think Carrie probably does too. The university. We have a lot of people that are coming in and they're like parents' weekend or something, and they're like, you know what, I've got nothing going on Friday. I think I'm going to call some realtors, go look at some houses, and just see what houses are. And so we end up being like the cruise director for these people, giving them a whole day of entertainment, going and looking at houses that they have no intent to buy. And they'll call list agents and use that as an advantage, because a list agent will be like a Pop-Tart agent. It's your listing, you have a chance of double ending it. You'll jump and show them property without taking the time to establish a buyer consultation. So that's why we think it's important. So
I guess let's go over what to include, or what ours looks like, which I
yeah,
guess we'll
so
do.
why don't you go ahead and why don't you role play with me and show me what you include
Okay.
as the role play?
Okay. So what I do, I'm just going to go over this real quick. I printed something very generic off of, this is actually an old KW template, which you're going to see out of mine because I've been doing this for 10 years. And I've updated it some, but you guys can find these on Designs and Command. Just a template. I really shrunk mine down to 4 or 5 pages because people don't like lengthy. And I don't even go through all this, and we'll just do that now. So let's just go ahead. I include some of the paperwork they're going to see at offer when they're doing an offer, includes some lender information and home warranty information is what I include in my packet. So, hey, Sue Ann, I'm glad you came and sat down with me, and just wanted to take some time, go over kind of the process, what you're going to see as we look for homes. And so this is my information. I'm sorry, guys. This is my information. I'm going to let you take all of this home, but I'm just going to go through it really briefly with you. This is your guide to buying a home. I'm going to let you kind of read all of that. I'm not going to go through all of that, but we do have in here just a simple guide on how to, what you need to do to purchase a home and how that works. First, just as you've done, is select a real estate agent. And the why is it important for you to work with an agent? Have you worked with an agent before?
No, this is my
first time. Okay, so we will take care of setting up all the showings. You don't need to be calling list agent after list agent. I'll take care of all the paperwork, any paperwork that needs to be to do the offer. I can call for sale by owners for you. So there's a huge benefit to using a realtor. I also know some homes that would maybe coming on the market that you won't even know about before they even hit the MLS. I'll learn at our team meetings. I view a lot of properties, tour properties. And so that you need to find a real estate agent, stick with them, be loyal to them, and we'll help you throughout the process. Okay.
Good.
Have you decided how you're going to finance this purchase? Do you have an idea of how you're going to finance?
I'm thinking I'm going to find a house, and then I will, I'll talk to a lender. I have a lender back home.
You have a lender back home. Okay. So you haven't talked to them yet though?
No,
correct?
no, I wanted to
okay.
find a house first.
Okay. Well, let's do this. I would like to put you at, you've got a lender you want to talk to. I would suggest that we do make that our top priority first before we start looking for a home. Okay. And the reason is that we want to make sure that we're looking at the right price range, making sure there's different loan types and not all homes match all loan types. And so we want to make sure that we are looking at the right homes when we go search. So we really need to know the price range you're going to be in and what type of loan. Okay. And there's other factors too, but those are the main factors I need to know before we go search for a home. I don't want to waste your time going to look at a house and it doesn't fit your lender's expectations.
Okay.
So we need to find out what price range. In the back of my folder, I have, these are some local lenders. You don't have to use them. These are people I'm familiar working with and have a great relationship with. You can use your lender, but I would suggest maybe to do some shopping around. Closing costs can sometimes be different with each lender. I know these will take really good care of you. I don't know your lender. I'd be happy to talk to them, and they may be just as fantastic as the ones I use here. But those are in the back of your folder. If you want to take a look at those, and I can help you through that too. Okay. So you want to look for a home. We don't know your price range yet, but tell me what you're looking for in a home.
I'm wanting a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, And my rent right now is 500, so I would like to stay around the $500 a month. And I want it to be on these 2 acres and I need a garage.
Okay,
I would like a fenced yard, so
Okay.
at least 2 acres.
okay. At that time, I'll kind of look at my computer and see if we can find anything. More than likely, no, but that's okay. $500 rent, but anyway, so at that time, I might go ahead and get their expectations figured out that,
Right. Let's reel 'em in.
let's change. Yeah, let's change. Okay. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of skip that process.
Yeah.
And what I want to do now is go over some of the paperwork you would be seeing if we were to make an offer today, okay? I
Okay.
would like you to be familiar with the paperwork. So when it is time to make an offer, it's not like all new to you. So this is some paperwork I included. One is, this is from the Kentucky state. This is a required document.
Okay.
It explains how agents work here in Kentucky. It's different in every state, so they want to make sure you know. Single agency, that's when I'm just representing you. We have dual agencies where I can represent seller and buyer, and that's not always in all states allowed.
Oh,
But in Kentucky, it is allowed.
okay.
And then there's designated agency, that's when my broker's involved. But you don't need to know all of that right now, but this does explain how each agency works. And if you have any questions, I'm gonna leave this with you.
Okay.
And there's a lot more on here. But these are the main agencies that you need to know about.
Okay.
Okay, so today, if I was to write an offer, or if we were to today working together, I'm just going to be your buyer's agent. Okay, I will not be considered a dual agent unless you find a property to purchase that's one of my listings or in our office. So I'm going to have you sign this today as that you acknowledge you understand that would just be your buyer's agent. When we get ready to write an offer, then we'll actually go through how this actual agency is going to work, whether it's still single agency or if it's dual agency or designated agency, et cetera.
I see.
So this is the contract, or what we would call the offer. And I do go through this pretty thoroughly. I usually highlight what I need to go through on here. So how the MLS, how they'll know what appliances may come with that home by looking at the MLS sheet. I highlight earnest money. I go through, why they need to, what they need to be expecting. Earnest money, they need to know that that's going to be money that they're going to bring up front. I also go through why I'm asking them to get pre-approved, because I'm going to need to know when I write that offer what type of loan they're going to have, what their interest rate is, what the terms are. I need their lender contact information. So I go through the contract pretty thoroughly, and I just highlight, and they get to take a copy of this. And that way, when it is time to write the offer, it's not, they kind of know what they're to expect, right? We'll go through inspections, and then I can tell them I'll provide a vendor list for them. Closing date, how that can vary. We may put a closing date on there, but it may close sooner, it could close later, that's not a solid date. We'll get a chance to walk through when they get to take possession. That's always a question, when they're going to get to take possession. And then I also, I highlight this last sentence on the back, line 277, there is no rescission period following the signing of this contract. So they know when they are making this offer, this is something that they cannot change their mind. Okay. When you're ready to make an offer on this property, you need to know that this is your property. And unless you can't get the financing or the inspections are completely unsatisfactory, you are binding to this contract. And that way they understand the importance of writing an offer. We just don't write offers on whatever we want, that there is no rescission period. Because, in some sales, there are rescission periods, but in this world, sale of homes. So I'll go through that pretty thoroughly. Also, the buyer's agency agreement, I'll introduce to the buyer. I don't always have them sign it right then. Sometimes they need to talk to their husband, wife, but I tell them the importance of using an agent and the reason to stick with the agent, and that is the way to protect our relationship. So I also talked to him, because also in our contract, it talks about home warranties. And so I
The
will,
other one didn't.
no, and so I usually include 2 of our home warranties that I'm familiar with, tell them there's many more out there. So I kind of got out of role play and started telling them what I do, but is that,
But that's okay,
okay.
because you role played the beginning part of it.
okay.
So that's kind of the way Carrie rolls with her buyer
A little
consultation.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, sometimes it's more formal than others. I'm gonna look back at this sheet again, and Autumn, I guess Melinda can see this or whatever with yours.
Here, you want to pass that back to him?
But the one thing I wanted to say, and I'm gonna go into the role play with her, is sometimes
I think there's one more
there is.
for Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is super important is having that buyer consultation for, establishing that rapport. But it can be at the office. It can be sometimes, many times,
Yeah.
especially after 2020, I was doing it at the first house I showed them.
Yeah.
So I would go ahead and do a freebie, like go
Have
ahead
it
and
in
say,
your
oh, you
car.
want to see that house? I want to somehow meet them. Then I say, let's plan on being there about 28 minutes extra, and I'm going to go over some stuff with you. And that's where I do the buyer consultation. Sometimes might meet for Starbucks or
I
whatever.
think that
like
works
that.
if it's a vacant house, if you've got an appointment and
definitely
someone's
vacant.
at that house, you
Yeah.
kind of need to leave.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've many times just taken them to, hey, do you have time? We can go to the office, maybe
Yes.
after.
We've
Vacant
done that.
houses, you can do your buyer's consultation, but if it's being
Yeah.
lived in, you probably need to get out so they can take care of their
And
pets or
so
whatever.
the other things like we've got some other little checklists that we have here, whenever people are calling online, and I can give those to you guys, you can come up and pick them up, little guides that we have used. But I'm going to kind of go over my buyer consultation with Carrie and what I would normally do. And I'm going to act as though we did not meet at a house. I'm meeting her for the first time. We talked on the phone. She called about property. She hasn't picked anything in particular yet. We're going to start the process raw. So I have made an appointment with her. She's showing up at our office. I'm taking her back into the consult room, and then I'm going to introduce. Hi, I'm so glad you made it.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Sue Ann Stevens. We spoke on the phone.
Yes.
And so can I
Thank
get
you for
something?
having me.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you come here. Just go ahead, have a seat, and I can get you some water or something. Do you want any water?
I've got some, but thank
Okay,
you.
well,
Brought my
good.
own.
Well, let's talk a little bit about mine. This is an exciting time.
Yeah.
Are you excited about
I
this?
am, but a little bit nervous. I just don't,
Well,
never done this before.
and that's
so-
good because that's what we're good at. So we're here to help make it comfortable and happy for you. So it's our job to do all the heavy lifting, and then you just get to pull in a couch and decorate. So this is our buyer guide. And so this is something that my son helped us with. So it's something we put
Very
together.
professional.
Well, I used to put together a whole bunch of stuff and print out a whole bunch of words, and I stopped doing that because people don't like words. So, but what I have in here is like a little schedule of how the process goes. So this is what I'm going to go over. I just wanted you to kind of see it. So,
It's really good. It's really nice.
so very simple. So I'm going to kind of go over this with you real quick. This is our buyer's
Okay.
guide, and we've got some information about some introduction at the back. And here we are at the back in our contact. So you can contact any one of us when we go through this process. But let's talk about what it's like to buy a home. So the
Okay.
first thing I want to talk to you about is how have you thought about paying for the home? Will you be buying it cash?
We don't have much money, so
Okay. Okay,
we definitely don't have cash to buy.
that's okay. That's
So-
fine. What we're going to do then is we're going to talk a little bit about getting pre-qualified with a lender.
Okay.
Do you live in the area now?
I do.
Okay.
I
Do you
do.
bank with one of the banks here?
Yes, CFSC.
Well, excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with that.
Okay.
So what I recommend is maybe you contact your bank since you have a relationship with them.
Okay.
They've got a mortgage office there. You can contact them
Okay.
and say, I'd like to talk about buying a house,
Okay.
and they'll set you up with one of the lenders there.
Okay.
We do have some other recommendations, and in this binder, there are some lenders that we would recommend that you can call.
Why would I need to call a different lender if I'm talking to CFSC?
So, and that's a good question. But one of the things that you need to know about buying is it's a little bit like, say, buying a refrigerator or a car. They've got different packages. So you don't want, it's not a one size fits all. Some
Okay.
lenders might have better deals.
Oh,
Something important to know too, and this might be getting a little deep, but when we work with some of the brick and mortar banks in the area, they usually all go through one lending house. They're all sending all their stuff to one underwriter. Commonly in our area, it's Magnolia Bank. But if you go through some of the mortgage bankers that I mentioned back here, they can shop a bunch of different things.
Gotcha.
Sometimes they take
I'm
all,
always looking for a deal.
exactly, they take all of your needs into consideration. And they can say, you know what, I have got a bank that might be able to give you a better deal.
Okay.
So that's going to be step number one.
Okay.
Now, we can go look at houses this weekend, but here's what I'd like you to do. Before the end of day, I would like you to call the FSB and a couple of other banks and get an idea on what you would qualify for and what kind of loan you're going to get. And I'll explain in a minute why that's going to be important. So let's say that we're out looking at houses on Saturday. You're going to go through the list. You're going to pick your 5 or 6 favorite houses.
Okay.
And don't be surprised if one of those is the one, because
Okay.
we're not going to go to your B list first. We're going to go to the favorites first.
Okay.
So you're going to go there. We're going to find your house, and then we're going to start talking about an offer. So I'm going to go over the contract on how we write an offer on a house. But when we get our offer accepted, when we say we want to offer this much on the house and the seller says that sounds good to me, then we're going to have a period where we're going to have a home inspection. So now let's talk about some money that you're going to be needing in order to buy a house. The home inspection could cost you in the neighborhood between $350 to $550 or thereabouts. So they range, and it's important to know that you're going to need that. You do not have to have a home inspection. We strongly recommend you do it.
That'd save me some money if I don't.
It will definitely save you money if you don't, but it could cost you a lot of money in the long run if you end up getting into a house that has some serious issues that we could not see when we're looking at it. So there's that. The home inspection, we also recommend, it's customary around here to have a termite inspection.
Okay.
So we'll do that in the same period.
The home inspector can't do.
Sometimes they can, and that would save a little bit of money, but actually they usually add it on. So
Okay.
yeah, this is about $75, $100.
Oh, okay.
So it's not
That's
too
too
bad.
Okay.
And then we are going to negotiate any necessary repairs. And we'll cover those details when we start looking at property. I'll explain what a seller can fix and what they probably won't. Okay. So we've got that. Any other inspections that we are going through will also take place during this whole process of finding a house.
About how long will that take?
We typically say it's about 30 days, 30 to 45 days. So exactly. So a lot of people think, oh, I found a house today. Can I move in by Friday?
Right. No.
Usually not. Usually not. So then during this other process, we get beyond that period, then your lender is going to be working with you. They're going to make sure you have insurance coverage. They're going to be ordering an appraisal. And this is going to be a little bit more money. This is going to be another about $500, $600. So be mindful that when we go to look at a house, you're going to need a little bit of money. So you are going to need
Inspections, appraisal.
inspections and
Anything
appraisal.
else?
Yeah, I'm going to cover that in a minute.
Okay.
And then on closing day is when you get your keys. And you get to move in. So, and that's about 30 to 45 days. Does all that make sense?
It does. Thank
Okay.
you.
You have any questions for me other than that?
Now just kind of worried about the money.
Okay,
More
well,
than
let's
anything.
talk about that, ways that we could get that taken care of for you. So I know that you don't have a lot to work with. So we're probably going to find you a lender that can get you a loan that would be
Yes.
not require down payment.
Nice.
So then all you would need really is a little bit of money up front for inspections,
Okay.
and then that appraisal to make sure your house is good done.
Okay.
Now, on closing costs, that's something that you've probably heard that word. Does that sound familiar?
I've heard of
Closing
it, but I
costs?
don't know what all it includes.
Well,
I need all that money too.
most buyers do. A lot of people say, oh my gosh, I'm going to need all this money and a down payment and
Okay.
closing costs. A lot of times we ask sellers to help with that.
Oh, good.
So it all depends on the property that we look at, how willing the sellers are to negotiate that, what you qualify for. There's a lot of things that go into place, and that's where I'm going to help you out.
Okay, good.
So we'll look at each
Okay.
house on its merit, and I'll tell you what we kind of be looking at. And if the seller's willing to help pay closing costs, if your lender is going to help out with anything. So anyway, so these are the other documents, and I do the same thing that Carrie does. I go over the sales contract kind of like she does. I circle it with a pen. I usually don't highlight, and I say, here is the financing part. This is what we're going to need. Now this right here, do you see where it says earnest money?
Yeah.
You asked about other money. This is the only other money that you're going to need. And let me tell you what this is.
Okay.
This money will tell you, we're going to tell the seller how serious you are about the house. Earnest money is like a down payment. Let's say you're at at a garage sale and they have a couch there and you're like, I wasn't looking to buy a couch today. I don't have the cash with me, but I really want that couch. Can I give you $20 and you hold it? I'm going to run to the bank and I'm going to come back and I'm going to buy that couch.
Okay.
So, and if you don't show back up, they get to keep your $20, right? So
Okay.
that's kind of the way earnest money works.
So how much do I need? Can I bring 100 or do I
It can,
need
it can be really,
2,000?
technically it can be any amount, but what I recommend is
Okay.
1/2 to 1% of the purchase price of the house.
Okay.
So I recommend that. You don't have to. So if we're looking at $100,000 house, that'd be between $500 and $1,000. Okay. You don't have to give all of that. I'm just saying that that is
Yeah,
a
'cause I'm gonna
recommendation.
pay for home inspection.
You do.
and appraisal.
I typically say if you make sure that you have about $1,000, $1,000 to $1,500 in your savings or money that you can get together,
We
then
can
that will,
probably do
that will
that.
cover you. And then we're gonna have the sellers help us out with anything else. Okay,
Okay.
so that's what we're gonna do. And then I would go through all the little details in this. And then what I do is on the consumer guide to agency, I cover that too. I cover the agency disclosure also. And then what I do is, Amy was laughing at me. I use the ugly little buyer loyalty agreement. It's very simple, but it does cover one more thing, which is the documentation fee. So she's worried about her
Transaction
financing,
fee.
the transaction fee, the doc fee. And so I'll say, there's only one other thing that we're gonna need money from, but this can be down at the very end. You don't need anything from you up front. At closing, and your lender can help with this too.
Okay.
There is a small fee that we collect that covers a lot of the work that we do, saving the documents, the protection that you get, all the legal ramifications. And that's called a transaction fee. That's about $200. And so we will collect that at the closing, and sometimes that can come out of.
But
the
I don't
seller
have
can
to
help
pay
that.
that.
We absolutely do not pay this at all upfront.
Okay. Well,
And
now
then
how
the-
are you getting paid?
And that's an excellent question. What we typically do is when we're showing you property,
Right.
the sellers are the ones that need their properties marketed. And so they pay their
Okay.
agent to find buyers.
Okay.
And that agent in turn pays us.
Okay.
Because I have buyers
So
that
I
I'm
don't have to
working
pay
with,
you too.
definitely
Good.
do not have to pay me a dime, no.
Okay, good.
So that is something that
Nice.
might have to be redone,
You
right?
have- you
So
have to
anyway,
rethink
for
that
now, I
conversation.
say no. At this point, all of that is covered by the seller. And so and we negotiate that.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that you don't have any surprises. That is why I'm telling you all this up front,
Thank
because
you.
I do not want you to be shocked at the end
Right.
and, get a sticker shock over something that you were not expecting.
Exactly.
So we will hold your hand during all of this, and the lender will too.
Okay.
The last thing I'm going to talk about is this exclusive loyalty agreement. And because I told you, I'm not collecting any money from you today. I'm not
Correct.
collecting any money from you over the next 3-4 weeks as we're looking at houses.
Sure.
But I would love your loyalty. I'm looking out for your best interest. I'm going to be doing a lot of research for you. I'm going to be helping you by negotiating everything. All I ask is that if you see a house out there, it's going to have a number of different signs on it. Just call
Right.
me,
Okay.
and I can show you anything. And that would be listed by any other brokerage,
Okay.
listed by any other agent, and for sale by owner.
Okay.
The minute that you see a sign out there that says for sale by owner, give me a call first. I might already have an agreement with that. And so I can go ahead and take a picture of the sign, get their number, and just in case. But I will talk to them. I will arrange the showing. I will make sure that we can protect you during a purchase like that. Does that make sense? So you can go ahead. I'm going to have you take all of these with you today.
Okay.
And this is yours to keep, so
Oh,
you can
nice.
just hang
Thank
on
you.
to this information. When it comes to negotiating, we have this information here, and this is gonna be really good evening, bedtime, or bathroom reading for you. So,
Thank you, Sabrina. I
yeah,
appreciate
so we
you
look
meeting
forward to
with me.
showing you houses on Saturday,
Awesome.
so.
Any
Any
questions?
We're good. I'm curious for those of you, especially Melinda, you're seasoned. Melinda, you've been doing this for a while. What do you guys do differently, or have you handled anything differently, or?
Do you consistently do a buyer's?
I do prefer to do a buyer's.
Do you usually bring them to the office or do you do it at the house?
It varies.
Me
It
too.
varies according to where we're gonna be. I mean, if
Okay.
we're gonna be
Yes.
looking at 45 minutes to an hour away,
Right,
then I do it there.
yeah,
Right.
But
I guess it depends where they're located now. We've done it at coffee shops,
Yeah.
a neutral location, maybe we're not quite, so.
It just, it just.
Do you have anything to add to what we
No,
do?
one thing that I do whenever we're talking about lenders and they have a lender back home wherever
Sure.
they are. One thing that I tell them, you're welcome to use your lender.
Yes.
But I go into the fact that what most of my clients find is that they have a much smoother process if they go
Gotcha.
through a local trusted local lender.
Smoother.
The frank.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. Do you give them anything when they show up?
Yeah, do you have
Or do you
do
just
you have a
talk to
buyer
them? Do you have like a
No,
power?
I don't have that pretty thing.
I know, me
But I've
neither.
got, I've got some,
Like a folder
like
or something?
like a graph, or not a graph, but a process, and then
That's neat.
something explains the out-of-pocket expenses. I historically haven't gone over the contract in that much detail, so I think
I'd
I'll
like
add
to at
that.
least point out
Mhm.
earnest money because
Mhm.
that's,
And that's part of my
that
out-of-pocket
you're-
expenses.
yeah, which is good.
So you
I
have
think
that
that's-
on like a graph, like a one sheet thing? That
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think I do like going over the contract.
I have found, and I usually tell them, and I don't go over it, she and I both go over the contract with our buyers. I don't go over it in detail reading every single word,
Mhm.
but I tell them, this is important to be familiar with, take it with you, because when we sign everything electronically, it's gonna zip you to every place that you're gonna initial, and I want you to understand the
Yeah.
importance. The other thing that I cover, that I know Carrie does too, when we're talking about an inspection period, I wanna make sure they understand that inspection period is super important. We're gonna hold their hand, but they are responsible for recognizing when they've been under contract and counting those 15 days or 14 days, whatever the inspection period is. And I say, I'm gonna be mindful of that too, but I need you to take it in hand, because you need to recognize if the 15th day comes and we have not negotiated repairs, you have bought the house as is. And we don't want that if there's something that needs to be fixed. And then I explained to them too about losing earnest money. I usually tell them this. Okay, as far as this earnest money that you put down, that goes toward the purchase of the house. So you're not giving money for nothing. You're giving it, goes toward the purchase of the house one way or the other. If for some reason you lose your job, you should be able to get that back. If you find something just terribly wrong with the house that you don't want to suck up the cost for, you don't want to have to deal with that cost, then you can back out of the contract and that money is released to you per our contract. We do have to ask for it, but I'm just saying that, barring any unforeseen circumstances, you get that money back.
As long as it's in that period.
Exactly.
And then
It has to be in that
yeah.
period. But the important thing to know is that if for some, or if you lose your job, if anything big like that changes, we can ask for that money back. If you decide that you have just changed your mind and you just don't want to buy, that money is paid to the seller for the inconvenience of pulling their house off the market for you. And then they're going to have to put it back on the market. So that money is due to the seller. And so I kind of leave them with that. And so we've, had people have to walk away from the earnest money, because I'm not going to play games with that and fight for them if they were neglectful in their contractual duties. So.
Yeah. Do you also tell them that there could be legal ramifications if the seller feels that they have a legal leg to stand on to go through
I don't
specific
know.
performance?
Well, not probably during buyer's
No,
consult, but
no.
when
But
that,
when I go through the
when you're in the
contract,
midst of it.
When I get to the point where there is an issue,
Mhm.
and if I feel like they are not legit, and they're wanting their earnest money
Yeah.
back or whatever, yeah, we cover it in depth at that point. But I have found, and this comes back from my experience of homeschooling my kids, there are teachable moments. And so for the most part, a lot of this stuff, this is
You
gonna be
wanna
like
scare 'em.
water off a
No, I
duck's
don't do it at
back.
the buyer consult.
They're gonna go like, "Ooh," their eyes are gonna
That is
blaze.
sometimes.
And then we're gonna remind them about some of this stuff. And at that moment, when they ask questions, then you got a teachable moment. And so that's what I use.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
go over an overall view at the buyer consult.
Very-
and so we will go over
overall
this in more
view-
detail as we go through each step.
biggest thing to me is the importance of checking their motivation. I don't know if we covered this in depth, but checking their motivation to buy. Because before you got in here, one thing that we deal with a lot in Murray, and others probably deal with it too, but I deal with a lot in Murray, maybe it's just me. All of these people that are coming through vacationing, and they decide that we are their tour guide, and that they're going to just look at houses just for grins and giggles. And I have had to walk my sons through and others through, when I'm training them, to get their motivation to buy. Because if they're like Johnny on the spot, they're going to go look at that house today, by golly, and they want you to be tour guide, and then they disappear. a lot of times I found that they're gonna do that if they do the whole, well, financing is not an issue. I have no problem financing. I'm like, they may not have any problem with financing, but I always second guess those people because I think if you're not willing to take that step to get your pre-qualification, just walk through 15 minutes in order to go look at houses, then I'm about to be a tour guide for the day. The other thing that I've heard people say is, well, they're going to buy cash. And I go, fantastic. That's the best way to buy. I'm so excited about that. I go through like the first couple days scheduling their showings and go, okay, so we've got about 4 houses. Hey, before we meet on Saturday, I need you to go ahead and call your banker and have them send me that letter showing that you're, it's proof of funds. We will need to submit that with our offer. And so that way I'm nipping that in the bud because you don't, people in there, I've got cash, don't worry about it thing. And this just saves us time and money. I will say this, as a brand new agent, I did a lot of freebie stuff. There was stuff that I need to get into 10 houses a week. That's my goal for myself. So sometimes I'll be willing to show someone a house and I know they may or may not be fully qualified, may or may not be ready to buy. Sometimes, yeah, it's practice. And so I might not go through all the steps as a newer agent because I needed to get the experience and show them, and I'm learning too. But when we are busy agents, we do not have the time to mess around with people and waste our time and our gas when we could be used for someone that is a legitimate buyer by chasing after someone that is not motivated.
Plus it's a safety issue.
Yeah, I don't really think about safety issues. I should, but I'm not a security cat.
If they show up for your buyer's consultation, they're pretty.
Yeah, they're pretty motivated.
serious.
That is a real discerner of their motivation because if they're going to take the time to say, oh, I'll meet you at your office for 30 minutes or whatever. Yeah, that's a discerner.
You get to know a lot more about them than just jumping in your car, showing houses.
So I have got up here some things that we have used. If any of you guys want copies of buyer questionnaires and lead sheets, you're welcome to these copies. Here's the ultimate buyer consultation. And
We got that. Some of this we just pulled off a Connect.
Yeah, and this is something that's in our
This is
guide.
from Rock Home Team. She gave us one of hers.
And then hers is two-sided with questions. And then this is the step-by-step process, not a fancy guide, probably like Melinda has, but we've got our checklist for everything that happens. So they know what the process is. And this is what we used to pull out so you guys are welcome to make copies of all that. So you're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn it off. Thank you all.
I've changed my presentation so many times. Now I'm down to like 5 pages.
Yeah.
I've got these little supplements, like in the trunk of my car and everywhere.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks something they need specific information on, I try to get that before our meeting.
Sure.